Good evening, everyone, and welcome to TriVersity Talk. I am Stephen Bloomer T.
And I am Wendy Stewart Kaplan, and thank you all for tuning in on this Thursday night on another beautiful hot day, I may add.
Absolutely, and it's so exciting here because Pride is gearing up in Sussex County,
Yes.
New Jersey, and TriVersity is really excited to be a part of the Sussex County Pride Rally this year. So that's from 12 to 2 on the Newton Green in Newton, New Jersey, and we hope you'll join us.
Oh, absolutely. And then, of course, we have our Dancing Under the Stars from 7 to 10 at the gorgeous patio on the Best Western Hotel. And we're going to have a wonderful dance as well as a great little show. Bell Pepper will be, the infamous, fabulous Bell Pepper will be performing, as well as two other performers. So we're very excited. Please come and join us. And Stephen, we all need to dance. How badly do you need to dance?
I need to dance pretty badly. Now, you always call these things a dance, and then you notice a lot of people don't dance. So I might have to have a few cocktails in me before I walk out there, especially if I'm by myself. But one of our fam, Sherry Van Houten, she's like, I've been practicing my dancing. And I'm like, yes, girl, come on, let's do it.
I love it. And Sherry's a fantastic belly dancer, too. Sherry can really move those hips. So, yeah, and I'll make sure everybody gets up on the dance floor. Did you have a good week, Stephen?
Well, it's been a week.
It's been a week. I had something incredible happen this week. I got a new air conditioner. Yay. And I was living in my bedroom with this clunky old thing that I'm not kidding you. It sounded when you turned it on like it was going to explode. And it barely blew out cold air. But, in New York City apartments, it's a big pain in the rump to get your air conditioner changed. I got the best super in the world, though. And I got a new air conditioner. And I have to tell you right now, as I sit here, that cold air is just blowing up on me right now. I am like living large.
I hear you. Well, I was sitting here and I was spritzing in the green room, and I was like, okay, this won't do. So whether or not you hear the AC's coming on, because I don't mind being red, but I don't want to be sweating on camera.
Well, I'm surprised that you were even a little bit warm because you keep your house. I could hang my meat in your house, Stephen. It's so cold.
It's summertime. It's summertime, and the warm gets warm, and we try to save some money on power. But yes, you go downstairs and you can make ice. So
speaking of summertime, oh my gosh, tonight's guest makes me think of summertime, and you may ask why. Because the first time I met tonight's guest, he was wearing very, very little in the way of clothes, because he is an incredible burlesque performer at night, a nurse during the day, but more than that, he's a writer. He's a producer who's currently working on a film. He is a fabulous photographer. Every single picture that he's ever taken of me has just been great. And more than that, he's just a wonderful person and a great friend. And I'd like you all to meet the infamous Jed Ryan.
Hey, Jed.
Happy Pride, everybody.
Happy Pride.
And thank
you for being here with us tonight, Jed.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I think I need to do my first shot of the night, my first Pride shot. So let's start with red. And I am so excited. Oh, wow. How excited am I?
If I didn't know this was happening, I feel I would have been prepared. But
why
cheers.
are you drinking alone, Jed? Stephen, he didn't even tell us you're drinking alone.
Oh, no, I'm not drinking alone. I have my little friend with me, and he may join us. I have my...
You brought a friend. So Jed came on our show and he brought a little friend and a shot. It doesn't get any better than that. Yes. Who is that?
Say hello. TriVersity. Here's to TriVersity. Oh, that was
Cheers.
great.
Cheers and happy Pride.
Happy Pride.
So this is Pride Month, Jed. I'm sure it's been a very busy month for you.
Yes, it started out that way because New York City is just simply exploding. And I am so happy there is an amazing show, actually, that predated Broadway, because Broadway is coming back, as we all know, in September. But Camp Morningwood, which my friend Jay Michaels is promoting, asked me to help with the promotions. And I cannot imagine a better way to kick off Pride. I hosted the show on Saturday night, the Morningwood, late at night. And it was great for the after party.
Now, and from what I understand, Jed, nobody has any clothes on in that show. I'm seeing it tomorrow night.
Oh, just because it's subtitled A Very Naked Musical? What makes you say that? Yes, Tim Moss. How much do we love Tim Moss, everybody? How much do we love Tim Moss?
Amazing friend, my Wednesday co-host on If Equals Could Talk. Wonderful performer. Tim is doing a cabaret show June 20th at Pangea, and we've been telling everybody about it. Tim is great. So, yeah, I'm going to Tim's night, which is tomorrow night, and he's going to be hosting that after party. Or I've been calling it Camp Morning Woody. Okay. That's just my play on words. Yes, let's do it. Jed, you're going to be drunk by the time the show ends.
Show ends. I'm thinking by the 10-minute mark.
This is true.
Hey, it'll never beat the one guest that by the end of the show said, "I'm so wasted," and I'm like, "Okay, well, it's time to go now." So you never know what'll come out of someone's mouth if they.
No, this is true, Stephen. We've had other guests on here that got wasted during the show too.
I think we should devote an episode to getting wasted ourselves and just really see where the topics flow, You know
what? That's a brilliant idea. Jed, you see what you've inspired in us right here, right now. That's great. You're inspirational. So besides, I know you've been involved with Camp Morningwood. Now, yes. Tell us what you're working on. You're working on a film as well, yeah?
Yes, that's true. Now, Wendy, not only is she an amazing friend, but if I started paying her to be my therapist, I would be broke, because I remember I was dragging my butt because I have only gotten involved in movies and going on auditions for the last 2 years. And I was bemoaning the fact that nothing was coming into fruition. You had some projects that were started and never got finished. Right. And usually that was due to lack of money or sometimes the flakiness of the creative team. So I am very happy because 2 of the films that I was involved in actually saw completion. And one of them is called Interabled. And there's a feature-length film that will be making the film festival circuits. It was written and directed. It was written and directed by my friend Marcus Nazario. So Marcus.
Drink to Marcus Nazario. Cheers.
Yes. And basically, as an amateur, for the most part, neophyte actor, I did the audition. The audition was back in May 2020. I answered the casting call. And I can't speak for Marcus, but I think I got him hooked when we did the online audition. And I said, "Do you like my cologne? I wore it just for you."
And that's hilarious.
Yeah, I guess you thought it was too. So,
yes. So tell us about the role that you played in the movie.
Thank you for asking. Well, originally, Marcus plays a character very similar to the way he is in real life, a young man who's a dancer, pansexual. And the character that I play is Joe, ironically enough, and he's the father of Marcus's, his character is named Tim, his love interest. And originally, yes, his love interest is named Charlie, and I play Charlie's father. Now, interestingly, Charlie was written originally as a boy, but then Marcus decided to do some changing, and then Charlie became a girl.
There you go.
And so played by the amazing Lauren Shevchuk, who is an amazing singer, and the character in the script is differently able, and Lauren she actually uses a wheelchair. And so you have a lot of different themes going on there. And I play the cool dad who's not afraid to make a dirty joke and who is protective of his daughter. But
really, see, you to me look so young to be a dad. Is it a stretch for you to play it? But you know what? This is very ironic because, and we'll talk about this later. You just, had a change in your nursing and you're working with kids now. So do you think maybe that made it happen, Jed? Think about that. All of a sudden you're cast as a dad. And now you're dealing with children all the time. Is that life imitating art or art imitating life?
I think every guy out there of a certain age can remember the first time he's called daddy at a gay club. And to me, it just totally took me by surprise. We spoke about Stonewall, that you were recently at Stonewall, and it was actually at Stonewall back when Hurricane Sandy decimated Fire Island. And I remember going to an event which was a benefit for Fire Island, and I had brought some stuff to donate, and they said, well, let's welcome the Leather Daddy on stage here. Leather Daddy, what are you donating?
Daddy, wow.
Yeah, the first time you hear it, I'm like, oh, okay. So I remember that point very vividly. It was the year of Hurricane Sandy that I was officially called Daddy.
Wow. So
I'm a queen. How dare you?
But I think you should have another shot for that. Go ahead, go for it.
Well, actually, my next shot is going out to the lovely Candace Weir. She is a filmmaker, and she's a big proponent of making female-centric films. And I saw, yes, and her latest film, it's a short film, it's called Behind the Door That No One Seems to Notice. And I answered that casting call in October 2020. And this was interesting because it was filmed entirely virtually. We all were responsible for shooting our own scenes. And
oh my God, I remember you telling me about that. That's so incredible, right?
It is. And the character this is semi-autobiographical. So it's based on a true story. This is a stepfather who, back in the hippie generation, and not afraid to roll a joint. And I don't smoke. I'm not into Mary Jane, so or whatever code word we're using. This is a family-friendly show. But I actually had to ask people how to roll a joint, and I had to borrow some gear and make our apartment look like a 60s party space. And
hilarious.
Yes, and the final film is actually available for a free viewing on Vimeo. We can have the link maybe in the description. But what Candace did was, and Candace is a stunningly beautiful writer and producer and actor herself. She pieced it all together and kept the same look. And for the scenes that I'm in, such a vintage look going on there, and the end result is really impressive. And it just goes to show the same way Marcus with Interabled was able to shoot the scene safely, social distancing, masked during the pandemic. Candace was able to shoot virtually and make an incredible movie. So it was to you, Candace.
That completely is, Stephen, how fascinating is that? How people have had to adapt. And I had heard that people were doing stuff like that. I actually did a film on Skype. And I couldn't comprehend. I still can't really wrap my head totally around the virtual world. But the person that was shooting the film, we did it all on Skype. It is amazing how resourceful people are. And then the final product, Jed, I would love to see this film that Candace did, because it's probably very interesting, right? All of those scenes that you all shot your own scenes.
Yes, and Candace was actually in Costa Rica at the time. We were communicating through WhatsApp, and she was offering suggestions. So my husband, Joe, God bless his heart, he not only taught me how to roll a joint, but he not only gave me tips on acting, but he also basically filmed and refilmed and helped me film it until it got just what the director was looking for.
Wow.
And it was really amazing. Yeah. So,
how long did it take you? I'm curious.
We did it over the course. We did it over one weekend, and then Candace offered some suggestions, and so we did it again. And then just to fiddle with the angles and the lighting and a few little itty bitty touches, we did it a third weekend. So it was 3 weekends.
So it was 3 weeks. And how many scenes are we talking about?
Basically, it's one scene. It's the father. Yes, another father, a stepfather, is pretty much a secondary character. So you see him in 2 scenes.
But you basically one scene and it took 3 weekends to do. People don't realize the labor of love that film people have put in during this pandemic to get their product out there, right? In a lot of ways, like you were saying, the other film, you were distanced, you could wear a mask, so it was done safely. But in many ways, that's a heck of a lot easier than trying to have the actors film themselves. And, for the actor to have to look into a crystal ball, right, and figure out the angles and the lighting and what the other person wants. It's amazing how resourceful everybody has had to become during this, Stephen produced all of our events online, which it was really incredible. But he has a mind for that. Stephen, our first one.
I don't. I know.
You just did it. What was our first one? Was it the storytelling, or was it what was it?
No, we started out before StreamYard. We did that virtual talent show.
Yes, that's what it was.
And that was before I knew about streaming platforms like this. So I had to give everybody editor access to our account so they could go on Facebook Live, and I didn't know any better, and everybody had to do it on time, otherwise it wouldn't have worked. So I had a lot of cooperation, but we winged it and we did a good job. So
but Steve, the way, that's the thing, Jed, that was most impressive. This could have, when he first told me what we were doing, I'm like, oh, this is a damn disaster. There's no way everybody is going to come on when they're supposed to. Well, it was one of those times when the gods were with us, because you know what can happen working like this. And it was, Stephen, it was flawless. It was really great. Right. It was that talent show. Incredible. And you had some people who pre-taped themselves, and then you had people that came on live. So this is what's so cool. You're mixing 2 mediums together.
Absolutely. I mean, I look at dandelions outside, which is like my favorite flower. People call it a weed, but I'm like, dandelions are so resilient. They can grow anywhere. They're so equipped to make it in any environment. And I think we all had to become dandelions over the course of 2020. I mean, we had to adapt to all sorts of situations and flourish. And you can call us weeds if you want, but here we are. We're still standing.
Woohoo!
That's right. Call us weeds, but we're still
here. The suburban middle Pennsylvanian housewives. They're gonna come after this show, and we haven't even had any nudity yet. Because this is a classy show. So
that brings up the fact.
That's the second time you've mentioned the nudity thing. Are you like aching to show us anything?
Is that allowed?
Well, we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
At first, I was like, "What's he doing?"
Yeah, and I got a little worried there. Well, Stephen, he was reaching for his ferret.
Yes, Jollibee and all that stuff.
So, how did you get into burlesque? My first introduction to Jed was at an event I threw with Nick Lyon called the Extravaganza, and Jed was one of the performers there. And that is how I first met him, scantily clad, and as the evening went on, even more scantily clad. And what I loved about your burlesque, you are like old school burlesque, because you always have like a little funny little story that goes with it. So tell us how you came about doing that kind of thing.
Wow. Well, I'm not really good with dates, so I'm trying to remember when that was. December 19th,
24th. It was January 24th. You want me to tell you what time you went on? I can tell you.
Well, that's how. So that everybody gets the official story. That's how Wendy and I met. Yes. Despite what people think, it was not in the ladies' room at Meow Mix and all that stuff, where where I thought I was a lesbian for a little while, but. We've actually, this was a show called, it was Bobby Horowitz. Bobby Horowitz. I know.
Right, it was Bobby Horowitz's show, right.
I know you prefer a cognac, Bobby, but this will have to do.
You have to drink to her, right. And that wasn't that at Don't Tell Mama? Where was it? What was the venue?
It was Don't Tell Mama, and the show was called It's Just a Number. And
Right.
I had no idea what that title meant. I thought that it meant, okay, it's just a musical number, so don't take yourselves too seriously. And then I realized it was because the performers that she selected were all of a certain age. I think that they were all above 40, possibly 50.
Right.
This was a show celebrating Tim Moss. How much do we love Tim Moss? You know, does
Yay! Let's take another shot.
another shot for Tim? Oh, it's purple, my favorite.
But Bobby Horowitz, Stephen,
What was
is
the
a
question again?
well-known cabaret singer.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Bobby
Nick
Horowitz.
Ryan just said, "Hey, Jed, what an adorable cat."
Oh, Nick loves to do that. Hold that ferret up so Nick can see it. That's
not
a ferret, Nick.
Not quite a
Oh my
cat.
God.
I mean, they are carnivores, so
Look at him. Is that the African one or is that the run-of-the-mill ferret?
no, the African one. He is in the other room, and if I don't know. He might get funny if he hears other people's voices. We do have a picture of him somewhere.
Okay,
So-
cool. Yeah. So let's go back to the night that we met. It's so romantic. So it was at a cabaret show given by Bobby Horowitz. It's just a number at Don't Tell Mama. And
Yes.
I can't remember what your bit was that you did that night.
Yes, it was a tribute to the joys of Sara Lee. It was a baked goods themed. Oh, it was an homage. It was a night honoring Tim.
Homage.
We love him so much. Yes, and so David Sloan, who was organizing the night, had asked me to please perform, but keep it a secret. And you know how hard it is to keep secrets sometimes. You know, I stayed in the dressing room until it was time for me to come up.
Oh
And,
my God. Oh, wait. Moments here. Adorable. So the one on the left is the African Serval Cat.
Oh no! These were actually. I know how you were asking me that about our skunks, and we don't have sadly any skunks as pets anymore. But this was a happy accident. I had a male skunk, Jorge, who was getting old, and he was getting kind of up there because I would never care what I would eat French fries and just throw them on the floor, and God knows what he would eat macaroni and cheese, whatever I was eating, he would eat. So unfortunately, he was morbidly obese, and I assumed impotent at the time, and a little old too. So I had gotten a female skunk as a companion for him, thinking, oh well, it's harmless, nothing will happen. Every book I read, every website said that skunks don't breed in captivity, and as you could see, this was the end result when I came home one day.
Stephen, how adorable is it? Adorable. So, Jed, what did you learn from this experience? Did you learn something?
I learned that a guy is never too old. But unfortunately, Jorge died. He died in February of that year, and then I found out that the gestation of skunks is 3 months. So in April, my female skunk, and I would lift her up, being like, "Zuzu, you're getting fat." And I would say to Joe, I'm like, "Joe, did she always have 10 nipples like this?" Yeah. And I came home one day and she was guarding that closet. Oh my God, she was guarding that closet like Chauncey Dandridge is like guards
guarding Stonewall
of Vinyl Madonna there. And
right.
Chauncey, we love you. All right, there's no more. So it's Diet Dr. Pepper. Did you really think I was using
Pepper, yes.
Right out of the bottle. So you were in front of the closet, and when you opened the door, what happened?
Well, there were these high-pitched squeals coming out. And now skunks, if you want to have them as pets, they have to be descented.
Yes.
They will never forgive you for taking away their stink power. Never, ever, ever. So what they can't do, if they can't spray, what they do is they stomp. They, with their front paws, that's what they do. And Zuzu, my now mother skunk, was stomping, and she had this look in her eyes. Whether it's a skunk or a mama bear, they will protect their babies no matter what. And she was not letting me near them. So I called up Joe, and I was like, guess what, Joe? We have some new kids. And of course, his first words are, I warned you. You should have had them. Yeah. And I actually could have gotten in trouble. I could have gotten arrested for breeding wildlife without a license, even if it's an accident. So we found good homes for all of them.
You got good homes for all of them. And you know what, Jed? Guess what happened again? You were daddy. This is a reoccurring theme in your life. Think about it.
Mmm.
I'm getting you a T-shirt that says "Destined to be Daddy."
Well, bring it on.
Destined to be Daddy. So you found good homes for the baby skunks, which is great. But let's get back to the Bobby Horowitz story. So you performed in that show, and you were eating cake. Now it's coming back to me.
Yes, and I basically, the crowd was, you got to remember, this is Don't Tell Mama, and I guarantee you, with all the acts that they've seen throughout the years, all these high class acts like Sumatsuki and these other people. Yes, Sumatsuki. Okay, you need another shot for her.
To that, right? So you weren't a high class act, Jed, were you?
Well, it was different. I don't know how often they do burlesque at Don't Tell Mama, but I basically heard this hoot. I think I was down to very little, down to the last bit to save my modesty, and I heard this hooting and hollering and this applause, this high screams, joy of delight. Yes, I found out later that it was you, and I was like, wow, someone's loving this. And of course, it was Wendy Stewart. She was brought to Don't Tell Mama by Nick Lyon. How much do we love Nick Lyon?
Okay, let's have another shot. Have another shot for Nick Lyon.
Yes. I don't think I could get a shot big enough. Seriously. What do we have here? Here you go. Here's my shot for Nick Lyon. How much do we love Nick Lyon there? Oops.
Well, you just drank out of your boot. I'm impressed.
It wouldn't be the first time. Seriously, I'm sure we have witnesses out there.
Well, I'm sure you've drank out of other people's boots as well. But moving right along with this story.
Yes,
so when you create, I'm very interested in how your burlesque is created, because I got to see you at a leather event at Bedlam weeks later. And now it's all coming back to me. Thank God. You did the leather event, and you did a whole little scenario burlesque where you were an ice cream man. Can you tell us about how you were the ice cream man in that little vignette?
Yes, thank you for asking. That's actually my favorite number to perform, and that's the biggest crowd pleaser, because who doesn't love the ice cream man? His name is not Mr. Softy. There's no one soft around me. His name is Mr. Stiffy, the ice cream man. And I found out that burlesque can be funny. It doesn't have to just simply be taking off your clothes. It could be sexy. It could be funny. It could be loaded with
tell a story
and creativity. Yes, it could be anything you want. And I've been called so much. I've been called nerdlesque even before I knew what that was. I've been, bearlesque, boylesque, everything. And high concept burlesque was what someone called it. And I'm like, all right, I like them all. I'll take it all. If I can turn people on, that's fine. And if I can make them laugh, that's great. If I could turn them on and make them laugh at the same time, yes.
Well, I'll tell you, at the talent show, I knew you were doing burlesque, and with each article of clothing that went off, I was both excited and horrified, and I was like, oh, please don't take off too much. Oh my gosh, I am so scared, but I loved every second of it.
And I think you stopped at the appropriate.
He absolutely did.
Yeah, you stopped at the appropriate part. It was wonderful. But I really love seeing it live. One of the things Jed does with his burlesque, he's got a lot of props. He's got things he pulls the caps off of, and they squirt things out all over. It's almost like watching Ringling Brothers doing burlesque.
Yes, I'll take that. Yes, and that act for TriVersity's Got Talent, that was actually conceived just for TriVersity. So, yes,
thank you.
I love you to death. That's so unbelievably cool. So, Jed, the film that you're working on now, you're producing it, right? And the script came from one of our dear talented friends, Lady Clover Honey or Clover Honey. Now, Clover is also in the film. Let's have another shot. Let's have a shot for Clover. There you go. Cheers. So, without giving away spoilers or anything, can you give us just a quick little synopsis?
Show a tiny little tease. We can show a photo that we took on the set if it's not. If it's not too much away. If it's not too risque and all that, because This is the first time anybody's seeing this, anybody who was not on the set. So Clover had written, I think I told you about this, Wendy, because your name came up. She had written a very large script, and it was a horror movie, because who doesn't love horror movies?
Yeah, I love the script. She sent it to me.
Yes, and she had parts for basically just about everybody in our little circle there, but it was very expensive. It would have there was a haunted house burning in the background and all that, and oh, that's the one.
Oh my God!
Yes.
Once again, I said it. It's summer. Nobody has their clothes on in Jed's world. Clover, always a lady. I love. This is, by the way, adorable. It is very, very cute shot. I'm excited to see this film. Look how happy everybody is.
Yeah, we all got to know each other a little bit better that day.
I'm sure.
That was only one scene that we shot, but that was the one that required like the the most actors and the most skin and all that stuff. And Clover had this script, and she had a part for you, Wendy, because as we know, the script was kind of like an homage to the old school horror movies, and there was never one 80s horror movies that didn't have a willowy blonde sex pot running around and not doing anything except just screaming her head off and looking pretty while doing it and all that. And
I'm so good at that. I really can't wait till we can actually do that one, because I love the script. It was really fun, and to do it with all the people that you've worked with and that you admire. What could be better?
Yes. The problem was it was expensive.
Yeah, I know. This stuff is expensive.
It is, yes. So what Clover had another script, and it was a sociological comedy, meaning it was a comedy with sociological touches, and basically it's called Modest Male Exposure, and it had to do with male and female differences in perceptions of modesty and how we become more prudish as a society and why and all that. And so I wanted to take on the role of producer. Clover wrote the script, as I said. And I learned so much in a short amount of time. Again, we've only filmed one scene of this short film, but in the short amount of time that we did that, I've learned so much just from being behind the scenes and what it's like to being a producer and wrangle of actors, where before I was always the one that was going on auditions. So
right. Let me ask you something, Jed. Are you finding that you're loving having the control?
Well, it's a double-edged sword because there's just things that like you think about at the last minute. Like in that particular scene, it's like, okay, if these guys are just coming out of the shower, shouldn't they be wet? And so, of course, like you wind up recruiting your husband to be the one to spray the guys with a water bottle, the naked guys down with a water bottle to make them look like they just came out of the shower. It's a tough job. I'm in.
I take that role. I'm sure Joe hated every minute of it too.
We twisted his arm there and all. It's a tough job, but someone's got to do it. Yes. Yeah. So this is yes. So
now,
yes,
Jed, I'm curious. We've been talking about your burlesque performances, your acting performances, your role as a producer. It's very interesting to me. You're very interesting as a person because you have a dichotomy going on here. You're an incredible caregiver. Okay. And Stephen, I have to tell you this. I really got to know Jed during the pandemic. He came to my house. We shot Pandemic Cooking, but none of us knew what to expect with the pandemic. Jed, you were working like 12, 15-hour shifts. All right. That you had the same mask on for days. This is a real hardcore healthcare worker, wonderful nurse. And you went in there day after day after day, and people were dying. What did you tell yourself? I want to hear what you did to get through this time.
Wow. It was tough because it changed everything. And this was not simply like a New York problem or a United States problem. This is a worldwide problem. None of us could really escape from this. And it was something that we had to deal with. You had no choice. You really didn't. You could not escape what was going on. And what was rough was going to work and then coming home and you just don't have any options. The same ways we relax and unwind in New York City, we're all gone. Couldn't see a movie, couldn't go to a bar, couldn't go to a club, couldn't go to the gym, and even going outside for a while was kind of frowned upon to get some fresh air. And it was really devastating for me. I really do think it left a scar, as much as it left a scar on all of us. I think that people are going to be suffering from PTSD.
I can attest to it. Absolutely. I'm a completely different person, but I admired that. I guess I have to ask you, how did you get up? What did you tell yourself to haul out the door every day? Yes, I know you're a nurse. I know you're trained. You've been doing it, what, 25 years?
Yes, 25 years.
Long time. But you were a nurse in a different world. Now, all of a sudden, your life is threatened. You have a partner that you came home to. Okay. You didn't, this virus, it could be it was an unbelievable thing. It was like out of a science fiction film, and it's still out there. What did you tell yourself? How did you be as a human being to get through this?
Before this happened, I really started to question my own career. I didn't think I was making a difference. I said to myself, I'm like, what am I doing? Basically, I'm just delivering medication to people and walking people to the bathroom after surgery and asking them embarrassing questions. And it really felt like I wasn't making any kind of difference, as strange as that may sound to some people. And when the started to hit the fan, it just seemed like all of a sudden something snapped inside of me. And I'm like, all right, maybe in a strange way, I finally feel that just the simple process of going to work, no matter where they sent me, no matter how many patients they gave me, no matter how many patients died, and there were deaths. Yes, this was not as some
very real.
Yeah, right. This was the media talking. They were not exaggerated. And I just felt that I needed to do something. And that's what motivated me. That's what made me get on that subway, or in this case, Joe was working from home to drive me every single day, because I really felt like I was making a difference. Like almost instinctively, I had 2 weeks of vacation that spring. And I said to my boss, I'm like, I think I may be urgently needed here. Let's put the vacation back in the bank. We couldn't use it anyway. And even when I had to shave my beard so that I could wear the N95, and I fought, trust me, I fought that. I fought that.
No, I remember when all this happened. And I remember you were in the same mask one time for 2 freaking weeks. This is the reality of what happened.
There was a mask shortage. There was definitely a mask shortage. Right. And if you threw it away, or if it started to stink, or it started to taste like last night's dinner, or whatever face care products, you may not get another one. And so you really had to hold on to that mask for dear life, because that's how short it was. And that's how short we were. And that's really what motivated me. It's just for the first time ever, I really was just like, this is not an option. This is something I have to do. And I would rather be at work doing whatever I was told to do, as hard as it was, than just being forced to feel helpless, more helpless than we already were.
Right.
So that's really what got me. I never thought about myself getting ill. I don't know why, but I never did. And again, that's really what motivated me. For the first time ever in like my career, not the first time ever, but for the first time in a long time, after a long doldrum, I really felt like I was making a difference. So that's really
and you were. And as your friend, I had you come to Pandemic Cooking. I think it was the end of March, or no, it was right before I got COVID. And you came to my house, and I remember we talked after we taped something where I interviewed you to try it, and we were at the beginning of the thing, and I wanted to find out what you were thinking or feeling. Now we've been through the thing, all right, where hopefully, and I say that, hopefully we won't have what we had before. We may have a reoccurrence, but not what it was. At the point you're at now, do you have feelings of anger about what you went through?
I do. I feel that, at the risk of sounding selfish, I feel that the last year of my 40s was taken away, and I didn't want to celebrate my 50th birthday during a pandemic. I felt
we did it in style.
We did. Yes, we did. We certainly did. We made it work, and thank you for all that showed up, the Rock Bar, that night. But I felt that it was just very, very unfair. I think that already as a society, we were already too distanced from each other. There wasn't enough physical contact. There wasn't enough real person-to-person interaction. We've become reliant on our phones and our computers. And I already felt that we were too far detached from our fellow human beings. And then this it made us afraid of each other. It really did. And yeah. So it's a mixed bag.
It's a mixed bag.
Yeah, it's hard because I do look back and all the painful times we had over the year. It's just really very painful times. The loneliness that so many people felt, and the isolation for people that live by themselves, and families separated, that kind of thing. But at the same time, I try to think of all the people like you. There's two people that stand out, and you're one of them. The way that you arrange these socially distanced outdoor events all throughout the year, and you said to people, look, I understand if this is going to be uncomfortable for you, but we'll make the most of it, we'll stay safe, and we really need this. We need to do this. And you did it.
Well, yeah, because it was really an important thing to do. I've been left with a lot of anger over what happened, and I have moved on, but I'm not letting that anger go, because I think for anyone that wants to be an activist, we really have to call out what came down, this past 15 months, okay? From our administration to what happened in the world, to still no accountability as to what happened in Wuhan. There's still, nobody here knows, no one watching knows, none of us know. This thing took down the world. I think for all of us to move on, we eventually do need to have some answers. And I want to thank you for being so incredibly honest, because I did, as a nurse, we were all applauding our heroes, and at 5 o'clock every day, people would be hanging out of their windows and banging pots and pans. But you know what? No one ever really sat down and talked and got into a person's head as to what they were really dealing with. So I thank you for being so honest. Now, I'm curious. I have such respect and I admire you so much. As a child, did any of this show up in you? Were you like an empathetic kid? Were you the kid? You came from a large family, right? Were you the one that took care of other kids in the family? I'm curious about that.
No, I'm actually the baby.
That's everyone took care of you. You were the youngest. You were like, oh, isn't he cute? Let's pinch his cheeks. Your cheeks are pinched.
I was the youngest. I wouldn't say that everybody really took care of me. I really wouldn't. Yeah, my mother was crazy. She was abusive, and she was physically and verbally abusive. She would break things and throw things and yell and scream. That's why. Yeah, so she was rough. My father was a lovely alcoholic. He really was. And I love him to death. I still love him to death, but he was not really there. When he was there, he was amazing. But he was always the life of the party. He always had a drink in one hand and a cigarette in the other. My mother would be the one preaching about the evils of alcohol and tobacco.
Alcohol and cigarettes.
Yes. But my father definitely had if there's one thing I learned, because he was always so ingratiating, he always had a way of making strangers feel like he knew them. And when he was he would be, he was very flirty and all that stuff. And a big ladies man. That's why I'm afraid to go under Ancestry.com, because I never know what half siblings I may have.
Oh, I know.
Japan and the Philippines and Trinidad and Tobago, because he was in the Navy. And so I only have good memories of him, the ones I have of him and all that, because he was he was a little distant and all that stuff. I have a wonderful sister who lives in Connecticut, my sister Lisa. And
you talk about that, yeah.
Yes. Well, she's a big follower of everything I do. I don't know if she's watching now and all that, but she doesn't like the naked stuff. But
well, that's because you're her brother. But it's great that now Lisa who was the most supportive of you when you came out, and how old were you when you came out?
Well, I was 21 years old. I came out in 1994, or was it 1992? It was somewhere in between there. And I'm watching this. Joe and I are watching this amazing series called Pride on Netflix. Which,
it's supposed to be. Yeah, I need to see it too.
It goes decade by decade, and I remember the '90s. Yes, it's amazing. And the '90s they called the era of the culture wars. I very, very vividly remember that, every single thing they talk about, because I was there. I had just come out of the closet, and I knew what was going on in the '90s. And it was very much like that. Like America was back then even divided into two parts. So when I first, it's the process. We all come out to ourselves. When I was in college, I joined a fraternity, and I watched a lot of straight, I'm not going to say the P word. I watched a lot of straight adult movies. And
you can say the P word on here. That's
I don't
fine.
like that word. Seriously. Every time I say the word porn, I have to give Joe $1 and all that because I just...
Corn. Say corn instead. So you were actually in a fraternity, like a straight fraternity?
I was, yes. I was because this is what we go through when we're growing up. This is what he's saying pay up in there right now. This is
heard him yell pay up.
When you this is what you go through when you we're not quite ready to admit that you're LGBTQ. And you basically just you try and make yourself straight. So I would watch hours and hours of straight, you know what, and I would have sex with any woman that would be willing to at that point. It was nothing about like was I wanted to. It was just whoever was willing, because and that's what you do in college anyway. You drink and you have sex. You don't go to classes or anything like that. That's what I did. But then when I finally came out, first to myself, and then I did come out to my father. And he said, well, I'm okay with that, but you really shouldn't tell your mother. And I told my mother, and verbatim, exactly what she says was, well, good. So you're gay. Now you don't have to have kids. You have the chance for a good life. Yeah.
I'm sorry. We've heard a lot on
Mom,
this show.
Yes, honey.
That's really... That's hilarious.
And she meant it, she meant, every foul word that came out of her mouth and everything like that. My sister has always been like overwhelmingly supportive and all that. My brothers, my relationship with them is kind of like relations between India and China. Great Britain. I was going to say Great Britain and India. They're cordial. I wouldn't exactly say they're warm. So, but I have a lovely. As you know, my husband and I, we're going to be going on 7 years, is it?
Yes, 7-year anniversary.
Yeah, I'm starting to feel a little itchy already. 7-year anniversary. And so I have a wonderful extended family and all that. I have another sister named Lisa. Joe and I both have sisters named Lisa.
Isn't that wow, what a coincidence, right? Wonderful sisters named Lisas.
Yes, exactly. And so, and of course, like family, I have all of you.
Well, that's how all of us look at each other, and we talk about, Simone on our board. We talk about how we are all family, how we've all met and support each other, and it's great. It's really, really a wonderful thing to be able to have that, and our community is a family, which is amazing. This community kept me going for 15 months. But I'm an extrovert. I don't know what I would have done otherwise.
Yeah. And
it would have been hard.
Well, because I think we're both the same. We both get really bad cabin fever if we have to stay in too long. And we both really we don't want to, we have a lot of making up to do after this year. Damn it,
Well, we're saying that. Jed, I wish you could come to our dance Saturday night. And we're going to be at Sussex County Pride. We've partnered with them for Saturday from 12 until 3. There'll be a rally and performances. And then, of course, we have our dance that night, which is going to be really great. It's like a whole day of pride, being with really fun people that are all supportive of each other. I think all of us have a lot to celebrate. I celebrate the new administration that we have. I celebrate the vaccine. Think of all the pluses that my God, this time like a year ago, you all think about that, where we were, and we're we're hopefully nearing the end of this thing. So there's a lot to celebrate. I think Pride this year is going to be a very special thing. And normally, like we did, Stephen, our last Pride was World Pride. That was the year before.
Yeah, 2019.
Yeah, and TriVersity stood on a street in the blistering hot sun for, was it 5 hours or 7 hours, Stephen? Ask your husband. He'll tell you. He left.
Oh, well, he gave up. So I'm thinking it was 5, I believe. It was 5.
It was 5. And it was uncomfortable and it was hot. And we thought we'd never get to March. But at the end of the day, we did. And it was World Pride. And it was one of the most magnificent feelings, you know, going down those streets and seeing those tons and tons of people and the rainbow flags and everything. It's going to be very different this year. Last year, it was just non-existent, you know, and who knows what next year is going to be. Jed, what were you going to say?
Richard, 7 long.
No, I think Richard timed it.
worth every minute, wasn't it?
Not for Richard, it wasn't. I even have a picture still opening of our show, Stephen. It's us by the vehicle with you rolling your eyes back into your head. Everybody was just so done.
Yes, we got to basically the point where we were going to march. I mean, like, we were starting to move, and Richard's like, I'm done. And he goes off with his friend Eduardo, and they have dinner because Eduardo bailed on another group he was walking with. And I was like, well, y'all have fun.
It was very hardcore. So, Jed, I'm very curious.
Ask me anything. Any of you out there, ask me anything. You know,
well, there's another thing we have in common: exotic animals. Everyone knows I live with 2 rabbits that are loose, a parrot that's loose, and a chihuahua. And I've worked with elephants, chimpanzees. Please tell me, how did you get involved in exotic animals?
Wow, that's a good question, and I'm not quite sure. I mean,
was the skunk was your first one?
No. The skunk. I grew up when I was a little kid. It was the 70s. So back then, the 70s was very strange. People had all kinds of animals that they should not have had as pets.
Right. They call them
birds of prey, ocelot, owls. You know, poisonous snakes. All these animals that they should not have had. And skunks did come into popularity in the 70s as an alternative to the dog or cat. There's a reason why people went back to dogs and cats, because they have very specific needs. But in my case, I really wanted one since childhood. So it was 2006, and I knew somebody in Sunbury, Pennsylvania, who was a breeder. And
of course it was somebody in Pennsylvania.
Yes, I remember. You want to talk about? It was a long drive over there. And so when I got my first apartment back in 2006, owned my first apartment, and didn't have to worry about renting or anything like that. Then that's when I got Jorge, who was my first skunk. And but they're not for everybody. Like, I ask anybody, if you're getting a relatively unusual pet, talk to me, because I've had just about every animal there is to have as a pet. You know, I've had snakes, turtles, frogs, toads, salamanders, rabbits, guinea pigs, mice, rats, hamsters, gerbils.
All of the above. All of the above. Except for the skunk, which I totally wanted, but my girlfriend got one, and she told me they have like a virus or a fungus in them that human beings can get. What is that about?
Skunks?
Yeah.
No, skunks, despite the myth, skunks do not readily get rabies. They're not more prone to rabies than any other wild animal. That's one of the reasons why they're banned as pets in New York. Because they're considered a rabies vector species unfairly.
Wow.
But I've never heard of that. I've never gotten.
Yeah, it does exist. You can Google it. So I have to ask you, why no potbelly pig? Alan and I were very close to bringing one of those home. I could see walking it into my building and someone saying that's a pig, and I'm like, how dare you call my dog a pig?
Well, I'd be worried that one day I'd come home and I'd smell bacon cooking, Joe and all that,
Oh my.
Joe never met bacon that he didn't like. He was like, we were at the zoo and he was teasing the wild boar, in the pen, and he was just like, I smell bacon. I'm like, Joe, that's cruel.
Terrible.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's terrible. Speaking of Joe, you're coming up on your 7-year anniversary. I mean, what's your secret, yours and Joe's secret to this? You guys are so great together. What do you think the secret is? I knew I would get that laugh.
Wow. we're both very mellow. We really are. I have ADD, so I get very upset about something, or I get focused on something, and then the next day I forget about it. So I don't stay focused on problems very long, and he doesn't either. We both try and cool off. I think I can't speak for Joe, obviously, but I know if I get upset with something, I try and cool off, and then just kind of distance myself, whatever it may be. Go out for a walk, go to the gym, lock myself in the bathroom, whatever it may be, and then just kind of like feel better. Because I remember my mother; she would say. She had a mouth on her. Oh my God. She was using all the
4-letter words, expletives.
But she was using them before they really became popular. She was using the language of like HBO movies or and all that stuff. Back in like the 70s and all that stuff. Other mothers didn't talk about that. I mean, she used the hyphenated words. She used the C word. She used all these words, and she would scream and yell and say things. And it made me realize it's like, wow, I could never, ever say anything like that to Joe. As mad as I may get, I could never, ever say that because you cannot take them back. You really can't. You can apologize, but you'll always have to worry about things that you said. So I really have like a filter in there, and it's just, you just really think about what you want to say before you say it,
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. And it's also having a balance with your partner.
Yeah, Joe's very open to everything I do, and we're both very open to like a lot of things. We both like to experiment with food and with theater and all aspects of culture. So
you experiment with culture. I do know you both love White Castle. That's an experiment.
That is indeed an experiment.
And culture too. Yes. Well, we started like one of the things that we started doing and try to do is we try to take a walk every evening if I'm not working, and when we have plans. And there's a White Castle exactly 1 mile away from where we live on Queens Boulevard, and we try to walk there. And I say, now we can only walk to the White Castle because it's the 1 mile mark, but we can't eat any of those.
I love that.
I'm thinking that's the White Castle that was basically next door to us when we were in Sunnyside. Am I right? Is that?
Oh, no.
No, it's not the same one.
No, we know all the White Castles. You were a little bit. That was a little bit further west. We were the one on, as the kids say on YouTube. I'm going to get doxxed right now. We're the one. We're on the one in Rego Park is the one near us. So.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the one.
Did you walk a mile with Richard for a White Castle also?
I wouldn't walk 30 feet for a White Castle. I hate onions. Oh.
I know those tiny little onions. They're like in the
No, White Castle is not for me.
It's okay. We're not judging you, Jed. So, Jed, like what? First of all, what's on the horizon for you? What's Jed about going forward?
Well, one of the other reasons, real quick, we mentioned my father, and unfortunately, he died at age 60. So he died in 2000, and he was
so young.
He was young, and I realize that now because he was in perfect health his whole life. I mean, that's debatable, because he was a heavy smoker, heavy drinker, but he was generally on a day-to-day basis, he was generally very healthy. And at age 50, all of a sudden, things just took a tragic downturn, and he got cancer, multiple myeloma, and died 10 years later. So that's what made me wary a little bit about turning 50. It wasn't, despite what some people may think, it wasn't a vanity thing. It wasn't because I was lying about my age. It wasn't because I was trying to hide it, because in this day and age, you can't hide from that anyway. When Joe and I got married, they listed both of our ages in the newspaper or in the magazines and all that, you know. So, but the point is like I really take every day. It's going to sound corny and all, you know.
Not at all.
Steel Magnolias-ish and everything like that, but I really do take every day. I try and make the most of it. I believe in having as much fun as possible without losing your head, and really doing the things you want to do. So yeah, this is my first foray into filmmaking, because in the words of Cass Elliot, make your own kind of music, sing your own special song. Do what you want to do, and it may be a challenge, but just like do it and try and have as much fun as possible. You know, it's Pride Month. We have 50 Shades of Gay. Icavelli.
Yes, Icavelli, 50 Shades of Gay. August 7th in New York at the Triad Theater.
Oh, fantastic. Yes. You might as well just finish that baby off.
Yeah, really. Let's crack open another bottle. Stephen, I think we're on to something here. I think we're going to do a show going forward where we're like, we'll call it One More Shot.
Well, it's funny. You're drinking Diet Dr. Pepper, and my mom, it's going to be 3 years in about a week when she passed away, and she loved Diet Dr. Pepper. So I'm like, this is like the perfect show drink, and it made me think of her. And
what was your mother's name? Stephen, what was your mother's name?
Patty.
Mm-hmm. Patty. You.
This is for Patty. Wow.
Yes. Oh, please. You know, Wendy, how many shots can we make? You know, to Francisco, to Alexis Flame. You know, to everybody.
Right.
Everybody. That's why.
Everybody we know. Happy Pride, Jed. It's been so terrific having you on here, and I learned things about you tonight that I didn't know, which is why I guess I love doing the show. You know.
Yeah, well, that's another good thing about turning 50. After a while, you have nothing to hide and all that stuff. When people ask,
there you go.
When people ask me, is my hair color real, or are my eyes real, or is this real, is that real? You know, I say, you know, a few years ago, I would have been like, of course they are. Now I'm just like, no, it's not. It's something we learned from our drag queen friends. It doesn't have to be real as long as you're fabulous in it. That's all.
And as long as you feel fabulous. And as I was telling Alan, I'm all about transformation. Hair color, eye color, body shape, you name it. I'm about transformation. That's what it's about. You got to feel as good about yourself as you possibly can. Absolutely. And then you'll share with the world.
Yes, yes. So,
Jed, thank you so much.
Yes, Jed, thank you. And thank you to everyone who's watching. And I just want to give a little shout out to our board member and dear friend, Simone. Simone's doing the Lord's work tonight. Apparently, there is a school board or a school teacher in Sussex, New Jersey, who has said that he will out students who are trans despite the state law. And Simone is speaking to the school board about that tonight. Yeah. So we give her mad kudos for standing up and fighting the good fight. And with that, everybody, thank you, Jed, and good night.
Good night. Jed, hang out. I'm going to take your picture when we're done.
I'm very shy.